Good morning, Year 6. Welcome to Friday. I'm going to start our last day of the week's learning with some grammar. So let's have a look at this. In which sentence is look a verb? Okay, so I want you to think about what a verb is and what it does, and see if you can spot where look is doing that job in the sentence. So Aisha closed the box and fastened the lock. Make sure you lock the gate before you leave. I think I need to buy a new bike lock, or the lock can only open with this special key. Which one uses lock as a verb? Have a think. You don't need to write anything down. Hopefully you are telling me right now that a verb, is a doing word, it's an action word. And so we're looking for where lock is used as an action, like turning a key. Okay, so here we go. You should close the box and fasten the lock. No, lock here is used as a noun. Make sure you lock the gate before you leave. That is our action. That is the right answer there. Fabulous. Right. Insert a pair of brackets in the correct place in the sentence below. Okay, let's see. So we're thinking of brackets and what their job is. Okay, using public transport such as buses and trains can reduce pollution. You don't need to write anything down. You just need to think about the answer. Hopefully you are telling me that the brackets, which come under the umbrella of parenthesis, okay? Parenthesis sort of contain that extra bit of information that you might insert into a main clause. So where is the extra bit of information in this particular sentence? Using public transport, here we go, such as buses and trains, yoink. Can reduce pollution, and that is where our very dodgily drawn brackets go. Okay, if you got those right, well done. Word of the day. Today's word of the day is pompously. Okay, it comes from the adjective pompous, and there's also a noun, pompousness. Okay, and it describes someone who is a bit up themselves, so who thinks they are all that, or someone who is arrogant or self-important. So if we are using the word pompously, it describes someone who thinks they are fantastic. So let's have a go at using this word in a sentence. So I'm going to try to write a sentence which might be Mrs. Ferguson pompously. To spell it correctly, because that's the whole point, it's there on the board, pompously strode around her classroom. Okay, so it sort of tells you that I'm a bit of a show-off. I think I am chocolate, the best thing in that room. Okay? Maybe you could use it in terms of someone who is pompously thinks they're going to win an argument, or something along those lines. Have a go at using it yourself. If someone is arrogant or pompous, they are too big for their boots. So thinking in those terms, can you write me a sentence? So pause the video now, write me a sentence, and then press play. Well done. Right. Okay. Today we are looking at adverb revision. Okay. So adverbs are something that you will have studied in year 4, and hopefully you will be absolute experts at them. But first of all, give me an example of an adverb. Can you think of an example of an adverb? I have a feeling most of you are saying the word suddenly. Suddenly is one that we all use, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're saying something like ferociously. Yep, an adverb. But what does it do? An adverb describes the noun. No, it doesn't. An adverb describes the verb. It tells us how something is happening. So if I'm running, I might be running quickly, and that's what adverbs do. Now, what words can become adverbs? Lots of words. Adjectives can become adverbs when we add an ly on the end, but that doesn't mean just ly words are adverbs, like pompously or quickly or ferociously. They can have not have an ly, rather. So have a look at this question. Now, this is a doozy question from a SATs paper in 2017. And it says, of all the toys in his large collection, Carl's little brother liked the cuddly rabbit best. Now, this was a particularly tricky question because lots of you will probably say, okay, I can spot the adverb. I know the adverb. The adverb is cuddly because it's got an ly. No. Cuddly is actually an adjective because it's describing the rabbit, which is a noun, it's a thing. What is the verb in this particular sentence? The verb in this sentence is actually liked. Which word describes that verb? Which word tells us more information about that word? And it is best. Okay, so be aware as well that adverbs are not just ly words. Now, today's first challenge is to read chapter 13 yourselves. It's only 4 pages long. It should not take you long. I have copied it onto today's PowerPoint, so on the next couple of pages, so you can freeze the video when I flick onto the pages and read it yourself, or you can use the PDF that is on DB Primary. It is up to you. What I would like you to do is pick out the adverbs that are used in chapter 13 and note them down. Super job, well done. Okay, adverbs for character description. So how can adverbs add to a character description? I'm going to show you 2 different descriptions. Okay. First of all, let's have a look at this first one. The boy walked to his classroom. He carried his bag, and when he arrived, he sat in his place next to his friend. He smiled. How do you think the boy is feeling? Maybe he's okay, he's just normal, he's walking to his classroom, he's happy when he sees his friend. And I know this because we've got the verb smile there, so he seems fairly happy. Okay, it's a nice description, gives us a bit of detail. We can see that he's got a bag on his shoulder and he's sitting next to his friend, so it's got a little bit of detail in it. But it doesn't tell us really that much about how the boy might be feeling. Let's now have a look at this description. The boy walked ploddingly to his classroom. He grudgingly carried his bag, and when he arrived, he swiftly sat in his place next to his friend. Cheerful again, he smiled. This description takes us on a journey, doesn't it? First of all, we have the first description, the first adverb, ploddingly. You're walking really slowly and you're not very happy. So starts off, the boy is fairly miserable maybe, and then he grudgingly carried his bag. He doesn't really want to. If you're grudgingly doing something, you're being forced into it. It's with a grudge that you don't actually want to do it. Okay, when he gets into class, he quickly sits down next to his friend and then he cheers up. Okay, and it makes him smile. So he actually goes on a bit of a journey rather than just going into class and sitting down. We know that, oh, he doesn't want to go to class because it's going to be so lame. And then actually when he gets there, he sees his mate and it makes him smile. So by adding those adverbs which are written in red, we can see the emotional graph, if you like, of a character. So let's think about the following actions. What adverbs could we add to change the mood of this piece? What I would like you to do is write down on a piece of paper some adverbs to change the mood. So I'm going to give you one and then I want you to write your own. So for example, somebody is walking, I had walking ploddingly. So somebody might be excited. How do you think they would walk if someone was excited? Maybe you want to get up and walk around your room and think about, how do you walk if you're excited? What kind of things? perhaps you're moving really quickly, so you might have walking quickly, or you might be walking bouncily, okay? Can you have a look? Maybe use a thesaurus if you want to up level your vocabulary, and write down a word to show me how someone could be walking. I also want you to think about writing. Okay, how could somebody be writing? Supposing I asked you to write me 2 pages about what has happened in Oliver Twist. Okay, how would you write that? Now, some of you would be like, oh no, Mrs. Ferguson, 2 pages. So maybe you would be writing reluctantly. Okay, that would tell me that you don't really want to write it. Maybe you'd be like, oh, I can't wait to write everything down. And you would be writing enthusiastically. Maybe see if you can find another word, describe how you might be writing, and write that down for me. Finally, dreaming. Okay, you might be having a good dream or a bad dream, and using an adverb will tell me what that is. So you might be dreaming peacefully. What kind of dream will I be having if I'm dreaming peacefully? Probably a nice dream, isn't it? Yeah. If I'm dreaming fretfully, what kind of dream might I be having? Maybe you want to go away and look up the word fretfully and see if you can find out what it means. Think about what kind of way you might dream and write down an adverb to describe it. Okay. Well done. Next challenge. We are going to find antonyms for adverbs to change the mood in these sentences. There are 4 sentences below. Remember, down here it says antonyms are the words that are opposite. Okay, a synonym is a word that means the same thing but sounds different, is different. An antonym means a word that is opposite. So you're going to change the mood by changing the adverb for the opposite. 4 sentences. You do need to write these out, capital letters, full stops, spelled correctly. They're spelled correctly here. I expect you to spell correctly in your work, please. The dog wagged its tail excitedly. There's no apostrophe in its. Its is instead of his, okay? So you do not need an apostrophe. Mrs. Ferguson yawned dreamily. The rain drizzled steadily. The trees danced wildly. Use a thesaurus if you have to look up your synonyms, or if you just know some, use them. Do aim for that really high level, precise vocab, please. I don't want anything boring, otherwise I will be yawning boringly, all right? Okay, so you need to pause the video, write these 4 sentences for me, and then come back. Fabulous, well done. I am very impressed, even in advance of reading them. I know you've done a great job. Okay, have a look at this picture below. This is a very unusual picture. What could be going on? Okay. I have written 2 different descriptions. I've kept them more or less the same, okay? But one is written, which is really quite negative, and one is written that's really positive. Now, let me think. There was a while ago, I think when we were back doing war poetry, we looked about changing things from light to dark. And we're going to try that again now by using different adverbs. Now, sometimes it's just an adverb that needs to change, and sometimes you need to modify the sentence slightly. So have a look and see what I've done, because in a minute, I'm going to ask you to do something similar. So here is my first effort. The tired bookseller waited timidly for the giant butterflies to cease their furiously beating their exhausted wings and set him finally down on the ginormous table. He did not care if the giant greedily gobbled him, for he had one last story to tell, a story of delight and danger, and despite his foreboding, he longed to tell it, even if it sealed his destiny. Okay. What kind of mood do you think is generated by that particular piece of writing? It's quite negative, isn't it? He's a tired bookseller. He's waiting timidly. So he's timid is another word for sort of shy and maybe a little, afraid. The giant butterflies are furiously beating their exhausted wings. They're not happy butterflies. They're knackered butterflies. And he's been put on this table, and he doesn't care that he's going to get eaten up. And the word foreboding means something's going to go wrong, okay? It's that sense of danger and desperation. So this is quite a negative piece. Now, have a look and see whether this one is slightly different. So, the refreshed bookseller waited excitedly for the giant butterflies to cease serenely beating their active wings and set him down at last on the ginormous table. He had come to meet the giant, for he had one last story to tell, a story of delight and danger, and, cloaked in his excitement, he could hardly wait to tell it, finally, for it was the key to his and everyone's destiny. Okay. So, I've changed a few of the adverbs in this sentence, in more than just a sentence, in the passage, to set a rather more positive light. Okay, so for example, I have changed tired to refreshed. Now, those are adjectives. They're describing the noun that is the bookseller. Okay, but how he's waiting, timidly to excitedly, that changes to someone from being a bit scared to someone's like, yeah, bring it on. Okay, serenely beating their wings rather than furiously. Serenely. Serene is like, oh, I'm, just or sort of, I always think of it sort of like being a bit majestic and calm and gentle, okay, as opposed to furious, which is like, oh, I just want to get there, okay. Active wings. Active is changing the adjective from exhausted because it describes the noun, which is the wings, okay? Now, I changed that bit from he didn't care if the giant ate him to he'd come to meet the giant, because that suited what had sort of gone before it, the fact that this guy is excited, he's clearly not under threat. So saying the giant was going to eat him, well, it wouldn't really work, would it? Okay. So changing those adverbs and tweaking those sentences, we've got a very similar story, but one is positive, the orange one is a positive light one, and the blue one is a negative miserable one. Okay, so now I want you to have a go yourself. Here is an odd picture. There is all sorts to look at. It's a picture of what is a curiosity shop. And what sort of things can you see? Well, I can see a bell, and I can see an old gramophone. There's sort of adverts. There's something on his shoulder. What is on his shoulder? What is he wearing? What other things can you see? Maybe a tiny ladder there? I don't know. Okay. So what I want you to do is write me a little, either you can write me a character description if you want, or you can write me a little scene like I did previously. But actually I don't just want one, I want two, okay? I want one to be positive. This is exciting. This is a good thing. This character is a good character, maybe a character full of wisdom and magic. And then I want you to write me the opposite. So perhaps the man is a bad man and he steals things to put in his curiosity shop. Perhaps the monkey is his evil sidekick. I don't know. So two different descriptions, one light, one dark. Be as imaginative as you can. I know some of you find this really hard, but just do your best. If you prefer, you could write me a character description of the man. You know, he's got an eccentric hat and exciting glasses, whatever, and then maybe a mysterious moustache and things like that. So you are painting him in a good light and a bad light. However you choose to attack this is fine. Use the picture to inspire you. I want you to concentrate on using adverbs though. That is like your goal in today's lesson, to be able to use adverbs. Remember, they describe the verb, so there must be some movement, okay? Because otherwise you can't describe a verb because you just simply don't have one, okay? Be careful that you're not just using adjectives, because adjectives describe the thing, they describe the noun. So where you say he's got an eccentric moustache, that doesn't tell me how it moves. If you say he has an eccentric moustache that quivers excitedly, or it tells excitedly is your adverb. Okay. If you're unsure about adverbs, rewind the video, go back and listen to me describe them again. You need to write me these both descriptions. You need to hand it in so we can mark it, and have a rest of Good Friday. If you have any questions, you can get hold of me via TB Primary. But otherwise, have a great day, and I shall see you all again next week. Take care, stay safe. See you next week.